Hey everybody, I'm Eric Schweitzer. I'm the Executive Director with Reset Ministries, and welcome to our 10th anniversary celebration. We had planned a bigger than big night with cake, decorations, hats, and all kinds of just fun stuff. But we couldn't do it. You guys know why, so it's not going to stop us though, because we're going to celebrate 10 years of goodness. We're going to celebrate our alumni. We're going to celebrate our residents. We're going to celebrate the hope and healing that takes place here at Reset. And we're going to celebrate the fact that there's more to come. God's given us a vision to impact more people. And so we're going after that. There's no little pandemic that's going to slow us down. We're going to keep digging so that in 10 more years, we have an in-person celebration with cake and all kinds of fun, frilly stuff. If you don't know what that is, you'll have to come back in 10 years to see what it is. But to get things kicked off, we're going to hear from Grant Dawson, one of our founders.
Well, welcome everybody. We're so excited that you're here with us, and I'm so excited to be able to just celebrate 10 years of what God has done with Reset. My name is Grant Dawson. I'm one of the co-founders of Reset, and it's just crazy to think that when we started, we had no idea, we had no dreams of what's going to happen 10 years later. We were just trying to figure out what to do 10 days later. And all we wanted to do was just be able to help some guys grow closer to Jesus and feel loved. And it's really fun and a little nostalgic looking back and realizing what God has done along the way, from adding the women's house when we said there's no way we'll ever serve women, but God had different ideas, to starting a biblical counseling program, to a social enterprise that not only helps support the ministry, but actually provides opportunities for other people to get involved. It's just really, it's a little sobering to think of what God has done in those 10 years. And the most important thing that He's done is impact lives. Not just the lives of the residents that have come through, but also volunteers that have become just part of the Reset family. My favorite thing and the dream that we always had was that residents would become alumni who would then come back and impact current residents. And we've seen that, and we've seen it go even one step further, that we have alumni that are impacting their communities. From Kim Dotson being an outreach pastor at her church, to Wade Campbell graduating and then coming back and serving as the men's house director. So I just got a message from a guy, Rodney Manier. Hope you're watching, Rodney. That he sent me something that he organized a whole community outreach event to raise funds for a kid with special needs in his community. And I got to read the news article. And it's just really cool to see lives being impacted and then going out and impacting lives. And that was the dream of Reset. We're just so thankful that God has allowed us to be a part of all the cool things that He's done. So as you sit back and enjoy and get excited about what God is doing and has done in 10 years here at Reset, I just encourage you to ask the Lord, what can I do to just maybe take one step deeper? To go, what are you asking me to do now? And that could be to maybe volunteer if you've never volunteered, to give if you've never given financially, to, hey, I already do all kinds of stuff. Maybe He's asking me to just pull back a little bit and find maybe different ways that I can just pray for this ministry. So I just want you to think about that, because He brings us into different seasons of life. We're really excited. And I hope you just really enjoy yourself for this, the rest of this time. And I want to say thanks to all the people that have been serving along the way, from people who were there at the beginning, like Keith Logston, John and Cindy Schmidt, Jenny Ridge, people like that, to people that have just come into the fold and gotten part of the family. So thank you, enjoy, and we're going to have a good time celebrating 10 years. We're not going to let a pandemic stop us from having fun and celebrating what God has done. So enjoy.
Wow. Grant, that is just so awesome. As you know, Grant's one of our founders, and so There's just a lot of big dreams that are going on around here for the next 10 years. But before we talk about dreams, let's hear a story from Rachel, who tells you a little bit more about Reset and what her experience was like.
Reset is a faith-based sober living, but it's also a new way of life. It is where you are going to learn how to live in God's will. I think that's one of the biggest things from being here is living in God's will and not my own. The support that I've had here and the love that I've been shown here that is just incredible. I've never, these people loved me from the day I walked in the door and they didn't even know me, and they've taught me how to live the way God wants me to live. And you can't even describe it. You know what I mean? Like if you're willing to put the work in here and you really want to change your life, like you will. It's really simple. It really is. It's not easy, but it's simple, and you have so many people there to guide you, and help you with everything. And to have that, especially when you're starting over, is huge. I mean, everyone needs guidance, but this is just like beyond that, it's above and beyond, and this will be the best experience you've ever had. You just have to be willing to surrender. I mean, use the time to work on yourself, and it is a truly life-changing experience. And I have nothing but great things to say about Reset. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It really is. Financially, they set you up for success. You do pay rent, but part of that is going to go into a savings account. So when you leave here, you're going to have a good foundation. And they teach you how to budget. You do financial counseling and classes, and they teach you how to save money. And so when you leave here, you are prepared for the world. And we do lots of different classes, but that's a big one. And I've never been at a place before that where, like the part of your rent's gonna be saved for you, so when you leave here, and then Reset also matches a portion of that when you leave. So there's just so many opportunities here, to get back on your feet. I can't really even express the gratitude that I have for Reset. I don't really even know if I have words for it. I am getting ready to leave here in a few months, and it's scary, definitely scary, but I feel confident enough in myself because of Reset to be successful and not go back to my old ways. Like I said, they've taught me who I am through Christ. They've just taught me a new way to live, and anyone that wants a new way of life, this is the place.
Isn't that just so good from Rachel? If you don't know us around Reset and what it takes for somebody to find hope and healing and restoration, she just gave you a picture of what it's like in our houses and some of the things that we do to help somebody. I've gotten to know her really well, and the Lord has made significant changes in her life. She recently graduated, and life is good for her. And I know that you could feel it on that video that she's just full of gratitude because of what's taken place here. Next up, I want to share a video that I did with Gary Dawson, one of our founders, and we had a conversation about some of the challenges Reset had early on and also what the future looks like for us. Hey everybody, I'm Eric Schweitzer, the Executive Director of Reset, and I'm joined today by Gary Dawson, co-founder. And we're going to just run through some questions and see what Gary has on his mind about our 10th anniversary. So when you and Grant started the ministry, did you think it was going to last this long?
No. As you know, I'm not a long-time planner. Grant's more of a in-the-weeds guy. I was just wanting to help some guys out. We really weren't thinking long-term, and we never, ever dreamt that it would grow into what it is today. I mean, it's amazing where it's gone.
Yeah, I have gotten to know you over the years, and so the idea that you were thinking 10 years out, I don't even think you thought 10 days out, I bet.
No, not normally, no.
So what's the most surprising thing that has happened during the 10 years?
the people that have been drawn to Reset, to volunteer and lend a hand, it's just been amazing. When I see the caliber of person that either serves on the board or volunteers as a counselor or a Bible teacher, cook, I mean, it's just fun. It's fun to sit back and see the people that are drawn to this to give, and then the people whose lives are changed to see them change. That's the amazing part of it.
So what would you say the biggest challenge for the ministry is currently?
Well, it's like every other ministry of this type. It always comes back to money. I mean, you have the desire to reach people and to change lives, but we're not funded through the state, through the federal government. We're totally funded by people's gifts and largesse, and you go through a time like COVID, and all of a sudden some normal revenue streams dry up, and you're really hustling to keep the programs at the caliber that they were.
Yeah, no, I agree. I know that for a lot of folks, we do a spring banquet,
Yeah.
and that got canceled. That's our biggest fundraiser, and now we're trying this virtual fundraiser, and we just don't know what it's going to look like.
Yeah, and it is a challenge. And as you know, our banquet actually would carry us from one year to the next. I mean, we would literally be out of money by the time we were ready to do the next banquet, and then it would replenish the supply. So, and I don't think things have changed that much, that you're sitting there with a big bag of money now that you don't need.
No, there's no big bag of money that we have sitting around somewhere. So so it does get a little bit stressful when I look at some of the bank statements.
And that's a unique part of Reset to me, is the fact that we don't take any government funding. We don't have people sitting writing grants for us all the time that we tap into that market. So it is people that have experienced Reset, who are friends of Reset, who come up and basically support the ministry.
Yeah, I think you're right. So where would you like to see Reset in the next 10 years? What's your vision?
Well, I'd like to see more houses, of course. The more houses that we have, the more people that we can serve. But also, we've done such a great job of building a foundation that people can actually emulate in a standard, almost like not a franchise, but a lot of work has gone into the details of running this, that we could do this and help people in other cities and other states.
Yeah, no, that would be great. So I know a lot of people have built into the ministry over the years. What would you say to those folks who've supported and done things for the ministry?
In the beginning, of course, it was just people that Grant and I knew, and it has certainly grown from that to people and companies that we've never touched base with. It's the fact that you've got so many people that give, that are drawn to this, that just have a heart to share their time, talents, and money.
Yeah, no, that's great. So, hey everybody, thanks for joining us. That's a little bit of the co-founder speaking to you, Gary Dawson.
Thank you very much.
As Gary and I talked a couple weeks ago, one of the things that just kept rolling through my mind was these banquets that we've done in the spring typically have really been the lifeblood of the ministry. And as he mentioned in the video, those typically carried us for the entire year. It's kind of crazy, right? We don't receive government funding. We don't get a bunch of grants, although we get a few now. But really, it's people like you and me and businesses in the community that fuel Reset. They provide the financial resources that make this place work. It's only taken us 10 years, but we're kicking off something tonight called our Hope and Healing Giving Circle, which is around monthly giving. And maybe you're sitting there thinking, gee, I don't have a lot of time or energy to pour into a place like Reset, but maybe you could give. So we'll have some things up on the screen to tell you how to do that, but I'd like you to thoughtfully consider, hey, is Reset doing the type of work that I'd like to be involved in, and what would it look like for me to engage financially? Next up though, let's talk about the hands part of the ministry, how to get engaged as a volunteer or a coach. Stephanie, one of our longtime coaches, who just has a tremendous heart for our folks. We're going to hear from her and just hear what God has stirred in her and the impact that actually being a volunteer and a coach here has had on her life.
I think the Lord drew me to Reset, and I think Reset's so special is because you can share your faith. I can volunteer at a lot of other places, but here it is so exciting to watch the Lord work in their lives, my lives, all of our lives, and we can share the Lord together. And that's what sets this whole place apart, is that we get to share the Lord with one another, good and bad. We all go through struggles. It's going to happen. but we're here to support and have hope for one another, and we're here to change lives. Just not their life, it's the volunteers' lives. Your life will be changed if you volunteer. I think some of the highlights that you get to see where the Lord pulls it all together, where some of these beautiful women, they get an apartment on their own, they have a decent job, they're providing for themselves, they're involved in a church, they're giving back to their churches, they're being leaders and so forth, and they have friends from the church, and it's just, God has really just transformed their whole life around. Financially, they've paid off some debts. They've got themselves totally reset in life. If you're interested in volunteering with Reset Ministries, go to the website. There is a spot on there as a volunteer, and you fill out the application, and then someone will get back with you and talk to you about the ministry and about possible ways of volunteering. With coaching, I think it's kind of what you want to make it to be. You know, we ask that you keep up with your resident, you know, once or twice, you know, a month, you know. I think your time frame depends on your comfort level and your time availability with your families and different things, in the sense of how you do life, the way the Lord leads you and the Holy Spirit leads you to do what with your person that you're coaching. You know, when it comes to experience in volunteering, I think it's just the Lord calling you to do it, because it's the Lord leading you here. I mean, I've taught school, so I enjoyed being around people, helping, but overall, there's no experience needed except that you want to share God's love with somebody else and help guide them and give them hope.
Just so good from Stephanie. I hope that you can feel the authenticity that she brings. She is present, she is real, and she brings her love of Christ to the ministry. She pours that out as a coach and as a biblical counselor, and that's what it takes to bring healing and hope to our folks. Next up, you're going to hear from a couple folks from BSI Engineering, who is our premier sponsor. But Misty has been a coach for several years around here, and wow, she's done wonderful things, and I know she's really gotten a lot out of her time here. But BSI Engineering, we want to say thank you as our premier sponsor. But BSI has a program where somebody at the company has to be really invested in the organization. And because of Misty's investment in us, BSI is willing to invest in us financially. So you're going to hear from their president, Phil, and Misty. I recently went out to see them, and this is what they said. Hey guys, we're here at BSI. They are our premier sponsor this year. So we want to say thank you to BSI. You're going to hear from a couple of their employees. They're going to tell us a little bit more about why they're involved.
Hi, I'm Phil Byrne, president of BSI Engineering, proud sponsor, premier sponsor of Reset Ministries. We started the company in 2007, and we've set aside 5% of our profits each year since then for charitable organizations such as Reset. We require for us to take some of that money and allocate it towards the charitable organization for some passionate employee to support an organization such as Reset. Misty Haynes from our company has been volunteering for 8 years at Reset, and she's the one who introduced us to the organization, and we have been proud sponsors since that period of time, and we're again doing it again this year. We can look at the organization as one of those everybody deserves a do-over, to quote a line from when I was a kid, or a mulligan. And I think Reset Ministries is one of the finest organizations that they have out there. So I encourage every other organization out there, every company, to look at something like Reset, in particular this organization, and provide some financial aid so that they can continue their mission.
Hi, I'm Misty Haynes with BSI Engineering, and I want to tell you my experience with Reset. I have volunteered for Reset for about 8 years now, and just the last couple years I've been a coach for the Women's House, and I absolutely love it. Sorry, I'm gonna cry. Just the blessings that you see, the changes in the women going through the struggles when they first come in, and just allowing them to be to see them open up and receive God's love, and just allowing us, the volunteers and the coaches, to love on them and to just be there for them and give them hope, give them something to look forward to. And it's such a blessing and an honor to be part of Reset Ministries. I thank you guys for being part of this banquet, and I pray that you will continue to research Reset, continue to volunteer, continue to pray, most of all, for the men and women part of this group. And there's a waiting list for women to get in to the women's house, and their Reset really wants to buy another house. So please consider donating and continuing to bless God's people.
Isn't that just so good? A company like BSI Engineering, they've invested in us with their people and with their resources, and we thank BSI one more time. I also want to thank the other sponsors that support us. As Gary mentioned and I've mentioned, we're not supported by the government in any way. We want to remain in control of the program and the things that we do here, and so that really means we need to be financially independent. And that takes people like BSI, other sponsors. You're going to see a list of those scroll up. Companies that are building into us, that they're willing to make a sacrifice and invest in the work that we do, invest in the people. So if you know these companies, or you see somebody roll up on the screen as far as a name of a company, if you would support them, that would be very meaningful to us and to them. And so next up, we're going to take a trip down memory lane, and we're going to hear from Grant Dawson and Dave Ramey about what it was like 10 years ago here at Reset.
Hey everybody, Grant Dawson here, one of the founders of Reset, and it's just wild to think that it's been 10 years since this whole party got started. And speaking of 10 years, I'm here with somebody, one of my favorite people in the entire world, and I'm not just saying that, and that is Dave Ramey, who has been here. You've seen the whole thing, 10 years.
The whole thing.
Yeah. You were the first person to ever move into this house. Is that true?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So, Dave, we're here at the women's house, which used to be the men's house here in Newport. And Dave has seen a lot of things here in this house. Coming back here, a little nostalgic at all? Or what do you think when you came back?
A lot nostalgic. I mean, I remember coming into this house when the windows were still broke out in the garage, and I had to replace the windows. All the plumbing, hardly any of it worked. There was no copper wires in any, or copper tube in any of the plumbing downstairs. We had to put all that in.
Wow.
I mean, it's nice to come back here and see what's been done to it since I've been gone. Different colors, a more vibrant feel and everything. But the process from beginning to now has been, it's evident now in what I see today.
Yes, I forget that. In my mind, it's like this thing was ready-made and beautiful and ready to move in, but when we were able to secure it, it still needed a lot of work. I forget that.
It did need a lot of work.
You did a lot of that work.
I did.
Dave was not only the first person to move in, he was the men's house manager, house director. And so you were not only living here, you were leading the men that were going to move in.
I was. And that was a big learning experience for me too. That was the first time that I ever was put in an opportunity to lead Bible studies and things like that. So
yeah,
I mean, it was really good for me.
Yeah. So you, we had a lot of we had ideas of how we could try to help men reset their lives, but you were actually somebody who had, I call, experiential authority, meaning you were in recovery, you had lived it. And so maybe 2 years clean at that time?
At that time I was 2 years sober at that time, and I had lived in a one-bedroom apartment over on Marlin Street, just a couple blocks away, when this opportunity presented itself to move in here. And I was kind of hesitant because I didn't realize how much refining I needed in my life. So I kind of liked my one bedroom, and because I was able to isolate there and do some things that probably weren't good for me. So I think, looking back on it now, I don't think I couldn't see it at the time, but I actually needed it just as much as anybody coming in to grow to the next place I think God had designed for me.
Yes, yeah. My dad and I, we had a lot of ideas, but the more, a lot of times we would say, okay, this seems like a good idea. Maybe we could give the people moving in money or something. I mean, the stupid ideas that Dave we'd have to run them all by Dave. They'd be like, now that might be a nice idea for people in Sunday school. But for you guys, for the guys that are going to be living here, we're going to have to do things a little bit differently. So you'd have to like help us not be so naive and stupid.
Yeah.
So thank you for that,
Yeah.
Dave.
Yeah.
Dave's fingerprints are all over this ministry, and he's super humble. He won't admit any of that, but it's true. What was it like with just you and the first guy that moved in, Shannon? What was it like just with you two for a little bit?
You know, it was kind of, it was difficult, I think, for the both of us, really, because we not only not used to being around people, because I'd lived by myself for 2 years. He had lived by himself out in Independence for a while. So working that part out, and plus the house is so big.
Yes.
There's 8 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms on the second floor. So you would hear everything in his house. Shannon could be all the way downstairs I could hear him pouring his coffee from the upstairs, you know. So living like that, we were kind of easy to get on each other's nerves.
I bet.
So
2 guys in an 8-bedroom house, and now we see it. It's beautiful. It's a women's house. Lot prettier now.
It is a lot prettier, yes.
And so 12 women in the house now, I think, right now. So lots has changed here for Reset. But what about you? What has changed in your life? Tell us about life now for Dave Ramey.
Life now, this December, about 10 months ago, I finished my Master's of Social Work degree. It took me 6 years, and I started it when I was probably like 5 years sober or something like that. And I knew when I was here in Reset, I wanted to do stuff to help more people. But early on in recovery here, everybody's going back to school and doing this and doing that. So it took me like 5 years to be convinced, okay, this is what God has for me, really. So I spent 6 years of that time going to school, and I achieved the Master's of Social Work. I'm in the process now of doing all my supervision hours to be able to obtain state licensure to be a therapist, and I've got probably about 16 months or so of that to go, and I feel good about it. We moved to Port Charlotte, Florida 3.5 years ago and bought a house there. Life is good. I have my 8-year-old son with me today. Grant knows David, and I was able to tell him as we were walking in the door, I actually started to date his mom. I was living in this house.
That's right.
This house coming back to here today is really special for me. I mean, honestly, it's like I'm coming home. There's so many memories of not just the people I encountered within this house, but what did it for me outside of this house. I got married, after I moved in here. Had a son, a family that, these things, when I was sitting in jail over 12 years ago, I remember reading the scripture, and this is when I first started reading the Bible in my life, where it talked about the seed being planted in good soil. And I always remember that prayer. To me, it was like the Solomon prayer where he asked for wisdom. And so when I came to Reset, I felt like that was the good soil. I felt like that was a life scripture for me. And I feel like God's always planted me in the good soil, and it started here with Reset.
Ooh, that's good. And now, 10 years later, 7 years later, whatever, you're a director at a nonprofit. You have a 8-year-old son. Life is good, man. And your wife, Monica, is an international speaker. I mean, so life is good for the Rameys. Life is good for Reset. We're just so thankful for what God has done in these 10 years for Reset, for you and your family, what you did. And we're just saying 10 more years, God. 10 more years of fruit and more Dave Rameys. And so you are helping make that happen. So may it be way more good stuff.
Isn't that just so good to hear from Grant and Dave about 10 years ago, what took place? We're here in an 8-bedroom house, and wow, a lot of things have happened over these past 10 years. And what those guys talked about really was good soil. A lot of folks that come to us have really had some struggles, and I would say they came from bad soil, broken homes, trauma. There's just a lot of things that people in addiction and people who are struggling have to battle to find hope and healing and restoration. And Reset is a place that people can find good soil. All it takes is for them to get to us. And so as we continue on for the next 10 years, we want to be good soil for more and more people. Next up, you're going to hear from Lori, who's going to talk about where she is today if you'd like to hear her story and a little bit more about the back end of her story, about where she was when she came to Reset and how broken she was, maybe some tough soil that she was in, please check that out on our website. But let's hear what her story looks like now that she's graduated from Reset.
Hi, my name's Lori Haggard and I'm a Reset alumni. I graduated about 4 years ago and I've been sober ever since. Through my walk after Reset, I've maintained sobriety through staying involved with this program and through Alcoholics Anonymous. There's been a lot of things that I've accomplished and I'd like to share some of those things with you. I'd like to start off by saying the things that I've accomplished have only been by the grace of God and from the things that I've learned through this foundational program. I did get full custody of my son back, which was a huge accomplishment in my life. I didn't have custody of him for 4 years, so that was a big turning point in my sobriety. In addition to that, I've maintained the same position at my work, moving into a career for the whole duration that I've been sober. So with that includes full benefits and a salary for my son where I'm able to put him in a Christian school, which he goes to Calvary Christian. So being a mom again was one of the biggest things that I've enjoyed through my sobriety, and that couldn't have happened without my Reset friends and family. I've also been able to get all my debt under control. When I first moved into this house, I was in a lot of debt. I was actually in a lot of trouble and a lot of debt, as most addicts are when they come into a program. But fortunately, through the financial planning and things that I went through with the Reset program, I was able to overcome these barriers and pay off my debts. It didn't happen overnight, I will say that. There were some struggles here and there and some different things that popped up, but with help and direction from women that have been constant in my life through this program, I was able to complete all my paying off of my debts. One of those debts were getting my student loans under control. And the reason that I wanted to do that was because I knew God had placed in my heart that I was going to do more with the community of women in addiction. So I did get all my student loans under control and I went back to school. And this past May, I graduated from Northern Kentucky University with my bachelor's in integrative studies. And I have since been accepted to University of Kentucky. I just started this semester actually for my master's degree in social work. So out of all these things that I've accomplished, one of the biggest things for me that is most important is just something very simple. And God's promises is that He restores our family, and my family was restored. And to me, that's the biggest gift that Reset has given me, is that I have a family now, and I couldn't have found that anywhere else. And I know God's not done. He's not done with me, and He's not done with us. And if He can do it for me, He can do it for any other person out there watching this video. Thank you for letting me share my story.
So as we celebrate 10 years tonight, Lori's story really resonates with the kind of things that we're looking for. Restoration of family, debt getting cleaned up and getting some financial traction. She's getting education. She's doing all kinds of things that most of us who haven't experienced addiction maybe take for granted. If you know somebody that's been in addiction, or somebody in your family that's been hit by addiction or are currently in it, sometimes we don't think those things are possible, but they're possible here. And so I hope that story resonated with you, and I want to share another story with you from George. He's an alumni, and he's got a great story to share with you right now.
I love everything about Reset. It helps you find the inner you, who you are. The difference that I've seen in Reset and others' sober livings is the love and the care that they give you, and the people that they bring into your life, and the Bible studies that people voluntarily come in and do every week. They have volunteers that coach you through life. In the personal development classes that they did, and you know, the requirements that they had you do, they kept you busy. And at first I did not like that. I did not like all the stuff that we had to do. I freaked out about that. But it was good. It's good to have that because it keeps you focused on the good things and not the old things that you're used to. I wasn't expecting it to be that way. I was looking at it as it being like other sober livings, you know, but like the rent structure and like how they've put so much back for you for when you move out. If you feel lost and feel like you have nobody and you're at your end, that there's another way. If you open your heart and mind and seek God, that He's there and He's just waiting for you. If you allow Him to, He can change your life and show you the people that do care and that do love you and that want you around.
What a great story from George and what it's been like for him as he's graduated from Reset. I know him personally. I know he's out in the community doing good things. So if you want to build into good soil, you can be a part of Reset by supporting us financially. You can become a coach or a volunteer. All that stuff's on a website. We'll show some slides here that you can pick up that information. But I want to say thank you for investing time. I know there's a lot of stuff going on with COVID and Zoom and all that. So it really means a lot that you would take time and tune in to watch us tonight, because 10 years is a big deal for Reset. You know, when Gary and Grant started Reset, those two guys had no idea the impact it would have. It's not just having an impact on individuals, it's having an impact on families, and it's actually having an impact on generations, because the people that come through our program, they have children who have been impacted by addiction, and by getting the chains broken off that addiction, they're setting their children free. And so if you want to help people have more birthdays, you can invest in the work we're doing, because when a mom or dad comes through here and they're taken out of addiction and they learn to live a sober lifestyle, they have birthdays and their children have birthdays and they have birthdays together. So families get restored. And that's part of what we're about, hope and healing and restoration. So if you want to be a part of that, please join us in some way. We thank you for spending your time with us, and we'll see you next year in the spring for our banquet.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Reset Ministries. Happy birthday to you.
The crowd of people outside, they're like, oh, we're watching video history in action.
Da, 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 da.
How's my cake? Cake.
But that
Hey guys, we're at BSI, our premier sponsorship. Okay. Quick record. Quick. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Like most, we can't have an auction nor a banquet this. Da, 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 da. Start over.
And we celebrate things like that are, wow, okay. But I also know that she gets a lot shoot, I'm stopping now.
Hey Reset family, can you believe it's been 10 years since we started? My dad and I'll start over.
Yeah,
La 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 la.
Check, check, 1 2 1 2. Check, 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 check. What would you do? I'm out.